Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Ite Namani.
All of that Prabhupada left to me to figure out. He didn't, it wasn't like, okay, if you have money you put marble. So we had to put marble on the floor, because you couldn't do that mosaic. So marble had to be on the floor, so we had to get good quality marble, and it's usually Prabhupada liked black and white, that we knew, that I knew. And then it was all brickwork. So we could not get good quality bricks because they were too expensive. So then Prabhupada, when he was in Vrindavan, one of those trips, so I came to his room, I had to report what was going on, and Prabhupada was like, why is it so slow? I thought that we were building, there's money. Why is... we had money before, yes, we bought the steel, we ordered the cement, we have the truckloads of sand, but we don't have enough money to buy the bricks. So he said, so you buy this, you buy this, you buy this, but you don't buy bricks? I said, well, because we have to buy the minimum. We have to buy so much steel. So if we only buy one truck, then we will be run out very soon. So we have to order 3 or 4 trucks together. But then there was no more money to have the bricks. So he said, well, then do hundi. 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 Yes, hundi. It is a very old system here in India. You can do hundi. I said, how do I do that, Srila Prabhupada? He said, well, you go to the supplier and you say, please, can you give me hundi? And then you tell him what you want. Oh. So I say hundi, and then I tell him what you want, and then I get it. I was in my mind going like that. He said, but they may not believe me. They may think I may have some, I may be going to steal from them. He said, no, you say, Swamiji said, give hundi. Just like that, Srila Prabhupada, just Swamiji said. You try. So Prabhupada left, and then we were looking for the best supplier. We said, we're going to get good bricks now. We're going to hundi, we're going to get, it's guaranteed, Swamiji. So let's get the best one. And let's not think too much about how much it costs, because it's going to be hundi. It's almost like a credit card, And so we had Ganga Prasad. He was the one, because I was thinking of Prabhupada's house to make special bricks, because the bricks that you can get locally are very ugly, and they break easily, and we had to carve them. So we had to have very good quality bricks. But when you carve bricks, you lose about 30 to 60%. And so we went to Ganga Prasad, and we just followed Prabhupada's instruction. And I said, Gangaji, we would like to have hundi from you. He said, hundi? I said, yes. You sure hundi? I said, yes. I said, Swamiji said. Ah, Swamiji said, hundi. So he smiled. And he was like, okay. Okay. What do you need? 4 trucks, please. Best quality, please. Best price. I said, I give you best quality, I will give you the quantity you want, but best price you have to leave up to me. I will deal with Swamiji about that. So, okay. Next day we had 4 trucks of bricks, and the work started. Then when the money came in, then of course we had to pay off and take care of all the other debts that we were doing with hundi. Now we only used it for the bricks. So the temple was going well. And from that time on, we felt strong. And then the village got interested in us, the Vrindavan town, because they were thinking, Indian way of thinking is, see, once they give credit, that means we will come back to them. And they could see that we were going to build, and we want quality. So Prabhupada was very intelligent that he, through me or through us, he was able to get the business community motivated, like, hey, there is money coming there. And then everybody was, the wood suppliers wanted to work with us. All the people came to Raman Reti, they wanted to work with us. Just by Prabhupada coming up with this idea, sending his disciples to do it, so that people would trust us. If he would go and do it himself, they wouldn't do anything. The Prabhupada would come, well, there's Prabhupada coming again, well, 6 months later. We couldn't get to do anything. So he wanted to make sure that we could go on and use the name Swamiji. That is his credit card. And then everything will go on. And motivate the suppliers. But the thing was, we want best quality. Yeah, Ramareti, you have to bring good quality wood, well-seasoned wood, otherwise it will be rejected. We had some engineers at site at that time also. So then also the money thing was being resolved with Guru Kripa and some other devotees that collected, and Vrindavan was going faster and faster. Prabhupada would write letters. Where are we now? It's going on, but when are we going to open? Set a date. Set a date. Who is going to do that? They set a date. It was the wrong date. We couldn't make it. Prabhupada was annoyed again. He wasn't annoyed with me in terms about the date or promising things. He was annoyed with me only because he wanted me to go faster. But he was more annoyed with those who dared to come up with a date and not really look at the reality. So why did you speak with Saurabh? With Saurabh? No, Srila Prabhupada. So how do you know you will make it ready? You wanted, as well, Srila Prabhupada, you want it as quick as possible. So this is the first auspicious day. But if you can't finish it, then we have half a temple, and we cannot install the deities. We put the deities temporarily somewhere else. We invite the guests. Half of the temple is not done. You have to work together. You have to discuss what is real for you. You have to set your mark based on what you're able to do. And that the money that you get, that the money is sufficient, the time is enough to build it. So he would leave me out of that part. He would not draw me into and also make me feel guilty about it, because then I would lose my concentration and it wouldn't be practical anymore. So he would purely keep me on that side. It was different from the other side. And then I was asked indirectly, what do you think about it? I said, well, if we are going to do this, then I need to have more authority. So that is when Prabhupada asked Jamuna and Gurudas to go to Gurudas and collect money for the deities. Then Bhardraj came over to work on the deities. And then I was in charge of Vrindavan to make sure that the temple got built.
So one day, Srila Prabhupada told us, he warned us, he was so protective for us, and protective for what he was doing, building a temple, so we don't get cheated. So Prabhupada said, you have to understand that they will never see that you have tilak on your forehead. They will only see, and he went like this, dollars. He went tilak, dollars. So I understood that he wanted us not to be naive, to be grounded, and to be very practical.
When I first went to Vrindavan, it was, I think, October 1972, and what immediately struck me was how incredibly dirty everything was. I had just come from Bombay, where things were much better, relatively speaking, and Vrindavan was in very decrepit condition, open sewage, things were in disarray, there was litter in places, and I was quite discouraged by that. In fact, one of the first things I did was actually start sweeping the whole Radha Damodar temple. And so then Prabhupada, he said when we went on a walk, when I mentioned this, that it was very, very dirty, he said that because of the neglect that the whatever the city commission was at that time, those responsible for it would have to take Bertha's hogs and dogs to learn their lesson and atone for not taking care of Vrindavan. The most significant feeling I had after hearing that was not so much thinking about the mayor, but rather to think about how Prabhupada was so determined to keep everything nice, and that he felt it was actually our duty and responsibility to do so, that he was very, when he said it, it was with emotion. So I understood how much he cared, and that was for me the most significant part.
We had this while being in Vrindavan and becoming a more mature devotee, I realized that there was a kind of a competition going on between Vrindavan and Mayapur. In the beginning it was who was going to get money in order to build faster. Later on there were other reasons, but I was still at the time when we needed more money for Vrindavan, that one day we had to go to Bombay. Prabhupada was in Bombay, and make a presentation or ask Prabhupada for more money, because the money that was coming in was still not enough. So apparently we took a train to Bombay, and also Mayapur took a train or a plane, I'm not sure, probably a train with Gargamuni, and I was on the other train coming from Vrindavan, and we were all going to Bombay to ask Prabhupada for money. So we were sitting in that little room in front. Prabhupada was having some other things to do. We were waiting. And then Gargamuni looked at me. I was sitting over there and said, we need more money. I said, "What do you want more money?" So we were both coming there to get money for Prabhupada. So while we were doing the trip, I made a list of all details, as detailed as I could make it, why I need the money and for what. So after about 10-15 minutes, I was called in. I was the first who was called in. And then Gargamuni was going like, how much you're asking? I said, I'm not going to tell you. So I went in the room, and then Prabhupada, he was there, and I sat down in front of the desk. And he said, so you need money? I said, yes, Srila Prabhupada. Again, you need money? There's not enough? Almost, Srila Prabhupada, not yet enough. But is it nice? Are you going nice? I think it's becoming very nice, Srila Prabhupada. So what do you need the money for? So I pull out my list, and I go like, well, this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. So how much is the total? He said. I said, well, close to 2 lakh, Srila Prabhupada. 2 lakh? 2 lakh. I said, okay. So I was out in 5 minutes. And so I came out of the door and I went like, I got it. How much? How much? I'm not going to tell you. And Gargamuni came in. He wasn't prepared He got nothing. Or he got something very little bit. But I remember that competition going on. But then, what happened is that they prepared a draft for the money to send to the Punjabi bank in Vrindavan. And Prabhupada had the draft in his hand, and he was handing it over to me, and I was sitting on the end, and I was grabbing the draft, and I was pulling it, and he didn't let go. Gunadeva was sitting next to me. It was really strange, so I said, maybe it's stuck on his finger, so I pull a little more. He kept it in his hand, and I sort of took my hand back. Then he said, put it back to the draft, and I said, oh my God, he's going to change his mind. Maybe I was too proud to Gargamuni, or Krishna is going to punish me, and Prabhupada found out and made fun of him. I was like, we lost the money, right? And then he said to Guranava, he said, how much does it cost if you go from Raman Reti on the rickshaw to the Punjab Bank and go back? So Guranava, about 5 rupees, Srila Prabhupada. 5 rupees. I said, okay, I'm going to mail it, it only costs 3 rupees. So he mailed the draft to the Punjab Bank to save 2 rupees. And that was, again, Prabhupada. He gives you 200,000, but because 2 rupees difference in carrying it, maybe he didn't trust it, maybe he thought we would lose the draft. He was worried maybe for other reasons. It's a whole train ride you have to take. But he felt the mail was safer. And it went by post. And it got there. So we didn't worry about it. But my fears were over, because I said, somehow or other, we're not going to get it. And then we knew we got it. So we could do hundi again. We could tell people, money is coming. Don't worry. Just go on with the work. And then the money came.
Prabhupada gave me the money to purchase 3 cars, one for each center, Vrindavan, Bombay, and Mayapur. And he wanted these cars made, and because the foreign cars were not able to ride nicely on Indian roads. So I went to Mr. Birla's factory outside of Calcutta and asked him for 3 cars, because at that time there was a waiting list of 7,000 people. In the early days, you couldn't just go buy a car in India. You had to go on a waiting list, because the government told the factories how many cars they could make. They could not make what they wanted to make. So I didn't want to wait for Prabhupada cars. He wanted them immediately. So I went to Mr. Birla and I asked him, can you give me 4 cars, because I ordered one for the Calcutta temple also. And he said, okay. And immediately that day, I was given the cars. Each car at that time cost 28,000 rupees only. It's 1975. However, when you buy these cars in those days, there was no quality control. So I wanted Prabhupada to feel most comfortable in his cars, and therefore I took the entire cars apart. We took out all the insides, everything, even the engine we took out, and we rebuilt the entire car, especially by insulation. Prabhupada didn't like noises, and he didn't like to bounce. Actually, they say these ambassadors will last forever if you just keep enough oil. Prabhupada told me that. When I first bought the cars, he said, keep enough oil and they will drive forever. And even in the material sense, Prabhupada's words about the ambassador car are true. Because now it is 2003, which is almost 40 years, and still this car is riding very nicely. So We should never underestimate the orders of the spiritual master, even on most trivial matters.
When we were starting the Vrindavan Krishna Balaram temple, I was talking to Gurudas and I said, what if we put our power and all this money into acquiring Radha Damodar temple and have something small in Ramanreti? He said, yeah, let's ask Prabhupada. And we said, what if we get Radha Damodar and have something small in Ramanreti? And Prabhupada said, I cannot think of anything small. That is my disease. Everything big. Even when I was a manager for Dr. Bosch's laboratory, my plans were bigger than he could supply. And many people ask me, I just came from Atlanta, Panihati, how can I please Prabhupada? I don't know specifically, but Prabhupada liked big. See, do something big and important.
At one time I was in Vrindavan. Achyutananda came. I don't know if this is appropriate for this, but he had gone to Prabhupada and I was there and he said, Gurudas should wear yellow robes. And we both looked at him, why? And Achyutananda said, because he is a householder, but he preaches like a sannyasi. And so he can wear yellow robes. And Prabhupada looked at him like, and I didn't care. And so that was shot down. So Achyutananda went on that, well, Gurudas is in Vrindavan, but it would be really good if he could come preaching around India. There's many places. And I had done that somewhat. And I said to Prabhupada after Achyutananda had gone, I don't care if I ever leave Vrindavan, I'm very happy here. I'd like to preach too, what should I do? He said, preach to devotees. He said, they need preaching. There's that same phenomena. Somebody joins, the courtship is over, and now you treat them like a married person, or whatever the analogy is. You grow complacent, that they're not unique and special. So I took that to heart, and I started preaching more. I was I think I was in charge of Vrindavan at the time, so I made it my business. It was great. Everybody appreciated it.
He gave some ideas also, I will tell later, to make a little income, to maintain ourselves during the construction of Vrindavan, Krishna Balaram Mandir. So Surabhi and Gunanava, they had made some kotas and actually some shawl. It was in Vrindavan, you know. So, but they had it made specially with good price, everything, to sell it. And they wanted to offer, of course, the first one to Srila Prabhupada. So I was with them, we was very happy. So they explained to him and they offered him. And Srila Prabhupada, I remember very well, he went, oh, I cannot accept. I cannot wear a kota with the holy name because I cannot sit on the holy name. I cannot wear a shawl with the holy name because it will touch a different part of my body. So you don't do that. You never wear anything with the holy name, even bead bag. So at that time, nobody was doing. It started later. So we was, Prabhupada again opened a door to us, you know. We had the privilege to understand that holy name is Krishna. You know, when Prabhupada gave instruction, he opened doors of Vaikuntha for us.
In India, if you buy something for a certain price, the rumors go out when you pay too much. Everybody knows that you got cheated. So once you're a victim of being cheated, then everybody will come to you. They're nice to you and this and that. So Prabhupada would get these stories coming in that, oh, Srila Prabhupada, I think Saurabh got cheated again. And this was like my fear. All the time I had to hear that. Some devotee or some people were saying, I think Saurabh is getting cheated. He's paying too much for this, he's paying too much for that. And Prabhupada got these reports. And that was not only in Vrindavan, that was also in Mumbai. So if I had any kind of an enemy or a person who wouldn't like me, they would just spread the rumor he got cheated. Saurabh, he's spending money left and right, and he is just, sometimes he pays twice as much, but it's the quality that is twice as good. And I just thought, I got to stick to this, I'm going to buy good quality, I'm going to get the best price possible. Prabhupada never ever asked me any question about whether I was involved in anything. He just took that in, and then sometimes when it get too much, and again, Yashovatinanda, he was my inside man, because he talked a lot with Prabhupada. And he said, yeah, you had some complaints again, Prabhupada, this and this, devotees came complain about you, and you have the wrong attitude, and you're so proud, and you're not surrendered, and you don't come to the Mangalarti always, and this and that. And so then Prabhupada would say, if these complaints were just piling up, then Prabhupada would say, are you going to build a temple? So let him do, let him do, let him do. And then you hear that secondhand. That's why I'm saying a lot of the qualities of Prabhupada, I can only know about me directly is practicality, common sense. But all the other things he had to deal with, that, people that were dissatisfied with me, that I wasn't really doing the thing as what it should have been, and he would sort of tolerate that and then say, well, it is very difficult to do what he's doing. And you have to sacrifice somewhere. You want to chant japa perfectly. I do my 16 rounds, but maybe my mind has been not all the time on my chanting, and that was for sure. I was worried about some I was saying Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, and I was thinking, oh, this and going like that. And I work at night. We had shifts, 24 hours. I had to be out there working till 3 in the morning, and then how can I go to Mangalarti? So usually then because when the workers also needed some time to sleep, so that's when I go to bed, and then I wake up at 9 o'clock. I was in deep Maya. But that was accepted. It was accepted I could do that, but it wasn't because I wanted to be like that. But I got protection there. And so Prabhupada wanted everything to go as quick as possible, as fast as possible, and even if I would be sacrificed, not being able to do my spiritual duties and not being able to always do what the temples do, then he would compensate for that and take that on himself, that he would protect me, that my spiritual life will not suffer because of that. In fact, maybe improve.
So we are in Vrindavan, and we get the marble for Vrindavan in Makrana, in Jaipur. Very far place, difficult to reach, very hot. So impossible to travel with Prashadam because it's a long way. So we ask Srila Prabhupada that when we travel for our service like this, what we do, is it possible to go to the restaurant? So Srila Prabhupada gave instruction. He said, yes, you can go. You go quickly, you order quickly, you eat quickly, you pay quickly, and you leave quickly. In that way you can eat when you are traveling and go to the restaurant. So I understood that Prabhupada is of course very practical.
Our work for producing books for Prabhupada for the BBT, well, for Prabhupada as the BBT, was in our minds the most important work we could possibly do. And so we had gone through all of this endeavor to finish all of his books, to catch up to him. That was the goal. The absolute goal was to catch up to Prabhupada so that he would say something, I would get a tape, transcribe it that morning. It would go immediately to whoever's doing the Sanskrit thing, and Zoom it would be off to LA, and we would have everything going very rapidly. Now, the problem was that in LA, Rameshwar and others were very enthusiastic, and they wanted Prabhupada to write more, which of course everybody did, so there was nothing wrong with that. However, I was on the other end of all these phone calls, Vrindavan style phone calls, kind of thing. And this is all at weird times of the day because of the time difference. And I'm left with the task of somehow getting this to happen. It's very easy to think of this happening, and it's quite difficult to make that actually happen because everything involved in it is out of your control. So I went to Prabhupada and I explained the dilemma we were having, that we want you to write more, you want more to write more so that we can produce more books. We all know this. We're all on the same side, the same page, but how can we possibly make that happen? I'm not going to force you to do that. You're not going to allow me to force you to do that. You're not going to care whether they say in Los Angeles. So how can we make this happen? So then we were discussing it, how we can make this happen. So he was suggesting somehow get him more time so that he didn't have to worry about things. So as far as I could, I took care of whatever political issues or whatever kind of other issues were there, and I tried to shuffle them off to GBCs so that he could do his work. Now, the real problem was that there was a lot of time of the day meeting people. He spent a lot of time. In Vrindavan, he was open basically all the time. So he had time in the morning to do his translating, but then there was this large part of the day where he was just talking with people all day long. So I said, I know this is not usually what is done, but maybe just do it less or don't do it at all. Take a vacation and just work on books, or just do it less. And he said, that's very difficult because these people come here to see me. And this is my responsibility. This is my home. This is where I present. So this is my base, more or less. Not exactly quoting, but this is where I work from, and therefore my responsibility to speak to these people because they inquire, they want to know. So then I said, yeah, well, there's not much I can do about this now. So then I told that to them in LA. We tried to do what we could do. We did as best we can. Then Prabhupada called me in and he said, you should do the darshan. And I'm, me? Me? He said, yeah, you should sit there and you should receive the people who come and you should answer their questions and you should speak with them. And I said, okay. Not like I had all that much choice. So the next day, we did that. Prabhupada went, after his lunch, he went into his room and he started working on his books. And I positioned myself in his room, and there next to his asana there was this little cushion, so I sat there. And I'm waiting, looking very darshanable and ready to speak to anyone who would come. So one man came, and he sat down, and he was looking at me. And I didn't know what to do, because he was just looking. I was going to speak, I was going to do something. So I decided to say something. Other people came, looked in, said, "Where's Swami?" I said, "I'm assisting him in this way." They said, "Oh," and they walked away. So then, after this dreadful period of time passed, Prabhupada walked in and he said, "Well, how did it go?" I said, "Well, actually, it went terrible. There was nobody, one guy, and I didn't say one person, and the others walked away. They weren't interested in me." He said, "That's the problem. They come here to see me. That's why I have to sit there. This is my responsibility." And so I never said it again. We shut down the entire operation of trying to get him to write more. We shut down all these activities to try to free him to write more. We just accepted the situation.
So we are in Vrindavan in the evening. This nice darshan with Bhagavatam at the time of Srila Prabhupada's milk. So we are sitting, they are talking, and Bhagavatam, who was helping us so much for the temple building, was a little disturbed that night because young devotees, was a little bit rude to him. And he was old and he gets tired, and they ask him so much to do. So then Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada said, my disciples are very raw. Then Bhagavatam said, Srila Prabhupada, he said something that I could never ask, He spoke about when Prabhupada will depart. What will happen, Srila Prabhupada? I could never speak of that because just the word of depart is impossible. So, Srila Prabhupada, what will happen when you will go? So, who will be there after you? So, Srila Prabhupada reflect a few minutes, and then he said, Bhagavatam. At night, if you look at the sky, there is so many stars. But when the moon is rising, everyone can see the moon. So in that way, when that moon will be rising, everyone will see that moon.
In the 5.5 years that I had association with Srila Prabhupada, and when I learned about Krishna consciousness, there was a consistent quality that would come out in every meeting I had with him, and it was based on practicality. I think the way he would see me and he could steer me in doing what I had to do, because I was very short, had a very short period that I had to learn Krishna consciousness. And I also had to make these drawings and try to make temples that I wasn't really sure about what he really wanted. But after I began to work, and I was on my own, and whenever I was called in the room or he wanted to tell me or give me some instruction, it was always the same thing: common sense, common sense, common sense.
The devotees thought that I should join the movement. They told me that Srila Prabhupada was going to be taking them to different places in India, and that I should join them. And I explained that I have already made a decision that I'm never going to leave Vrindavan for my whole life. So they became very critical of me. They were calling me a Sahajya. They were calling me a Smarta Brahman. They were saying I was bogus. They were saying that Lord Chaitanya's movement is to preach. And I was thinking that they do not understand. These Western people, they do not understand what is Vrindavan. They even offered me to be Srila Prabhupada's personal servant, because they said that they were always getting sick in India, but I was very much accustomed to living in India. But I told them that, thank you very much for this wonderful offer, but I will serve Srila Prabhupada when he does something in Vrindavan. And they were very much criticizing me. In fact, they were harassing me. So one day, Srila Prabhupada gave a lecture in a garden. And as he was walking out from the lecture to his car, I had just arrived. And there was crowds of people between his car and where he spoke. And they were all just bowing down to him as he was walking by. So I was one of those people in the crowd. And I bowed down just as Srila Prabhupada was walking by me. And then I got up. And when I got up, Srila Prabhupada was stopped right in front of me. So I looked up at him. I was on my knees. And Srila Prabhupada had a very serious expression on his face. Very concerned. And he looked at me right in the eyes. And when he looked in my eyes, I could feel that he was looking right into my soul. I could actually feel my soul being touched by Srila Prabhupada's glance. I had never had a sensation like that in my entire life. And then Srila Prabhupada asked me, how long have you been living in Vrindavan? And I was thinking, oh no, all the devotees have been chastising me. Now Srila Prabhupada's going to chastise me. So very shy, I said, Srila Prabhupada, I've been here about 6 months. And Prabhupada just stood silently, just looking at me, penetrating me with his glance. It seemed like hours. Perhaps it was about 30 seconds. And then his face blossomed into the most beautiful, ecstatic smile. And he said to me, very nice. Vrindavan is the most wonderful place. And then he rubbed me on the head and he walked by. And I was thinking at that time that everyone was chastising me for being in Vrindavan. But Prabhupada knew just what I had to hear to become attached to him. At that time, I knew I was wrong, and I was ready to go anywhere and do anything for him, because I felt such a love, such an understanding, such a depth of he was willing to say whatever was required to encourage me to become more attached to him and more attached to devotional service.
My grandfather was the greatest decorator of houses in France, most famous. And so I have been brought up like this. So I was always helping and searching what would be the best for Prabhupada. There is so many things there, which was coming actually from my grandfather. So his most famous thing was fireplace. He made huge fireplace, incredible, and we worked very, very nicely. So I really wanted, I could not even think of a place to sit with Prabhupada without a fireplace, big fireplace. So Shoabi was not convinced at all, but I convinced him, and I said to him, you know, it would be so nice, because at night we will sit together with Prabhupada when he's cold. That was the point, that I convinced him. And he will be very warm like this. He will not catch cold and like this. So he made this huge chimney fireplace that you see in Srila Prabhupada's room when you come in. It's very predominant, black. So the day arrived where Srila Prabhupada was coming in his darshan room for the first time. So my heart was beating with that beautiful chimney. And the first words Prabhupada said, "Oh, Surabi." He was a bit surprised. "You put the fireplace in my darshan room? You put my kitchen in the darshan room," when he saw the fireplace. Because in India, there is never fireplace where they sit together. The fireplace is small and it is always in a corner in the kitchen. In every Brij place, you see. So then I told Swabi, look at me, he was not happy, you know. And then I said to him slowly, I said, tell him about the evening. He will have warm, he will not catch cold, it will be so nice for darshan. So he started to tell to Srila Prabhupada, this fireplace we will put wood, make big fire, and in the winter you will be sitting, you will feel warm. And Srila Prabhupada was actually going to sit down while Sorabi was saying that. So Prabhupada turned like this, and very grave, you know. He said, Vaishnav, they never burn wood to keep warm. They were shy. And he went like this. So Sorabi had a dark look to me. I leave the room. He got some chastisement, you know, like this. And we tried the cheminée next day. I was pushing. Let's try. Oh my God. Prabhupada came. It was like he saw that the house was burning because the firework was not working. It's not easy to make a good extraction like this. So we never use it. It was never used like that.
Once I gave him $108,000. I came to Vrindavan, and the way I gave the money is I deposited in an account and showed him the receipt. So I showed him the receipt, and they were building Krishna Balaram, and he was walking the construction site. So I'd given the money, and then I'd gone, taken a bath, and I immediately came back, and he was wandering the construction site, so I went up to him, and immediately he yelled at me, "Take that dhoti off." It was the wrong color. "Never let me see you again." Yeah, immediately chastising me. Many occasions he would chastise me about this or that. And sometimes the hardest thing in management, and those that know, who have this Prabhupada association knew, that you would have to take the hit for other people. Sometimes there would be some few peas on the floor in the prasadam room, and he's walking the temple and he would see that, and then you would get, "Why is that there?" And what can I do?
So now we're in Vrindavan, and getting ready for the opening of Krishna Balaram Mandir. And Prabhupada, I'm sure that you heard a lot of things from a lot of devotees about this, but he was like a tiger, you know, and every detail he was overseeing.
So we're walking out, remember in the temple, Krishna Balaram Mandir, there was a fountain in the front. We were walking along there, and there was some refuge where the samadhi is now, that corner. There was some refuge because everybody was decorating and getting ready for the thing, and Prabhupada stopped. He pointed his cane. He said, "What is that?" And by that time, none of the leaders would come with him on morning walks because they knew what was going to happen. Prabhupada was going to grill them, So there was, Tamal Krishna Maharaj was there, Yadubar was there, Dhananjaya was there, Giriraj Maharaj was there, I was there. So we're walking along and he pointed his cane and somebody just said, "Prabhupada, it's just the refuse, we're cleaning it up now, we're getting ready for the..." And Prabhupada said, "Just see. Every morning you chant, Mandira Marjanado, Mandira Marjanado. You sing it every morning and you don't even know that that's also the temple." A pin could have dropped. A pin could have dropped. So we started to walk and fools rush in where angels fear to tread. So I said, "Srila Prabhupada," he turned around and I said, "Oh my God, now I've got to say something." And I said, "Srila Prabhupada, it seems like you're the only one who can see everything all the time. What are we to do?" And he put his cane out and it came about this far from my chest. And he said, "Yes, therefore you must follow your Guru Maharaj."
I remember in Vrindavan, there were just a few book distributors who had gotten an audience with Srila Prabhupada to discuss that very topic. And I remember some of the questions that were posed, and I remember the answers explicitly. One thing I asked was about the quality of our preaching and our book distribution, and I suggested that there was one problem, that people said the only time they see us is when we're hunting for their money or trying to give them some of our books. They don't know us other than that, in essence. And his response was typically inspiring and insightful. He said it was almost a query on his part. No, they shouldn't think like that. You should tell them that they can be with you 24 hours a day. There's no reason not to be with me. He used the pronoun me. He said, "You can be with me 24 hours a day." He said, "You come with me, stay with me 24 hours a day, come live where I live and see me, and in that way you can get to know me. And after 3 days of staying with me like that, you'll become like me." So that inspired us all, because it, in essence, suggested to us that our example was just as important as our individual one-on-one preaching out on the streets, as well as our book distribution. Our example and how we lived 24 hours a day should be public information, so to speak. So that was an inspiring input that we got from him.
In 1975, at the opening of the Krishna Balaram Mandir, I was here with the party that I was with Tripurari Maharaj and Suradas, and there was a group of us working for the BBT party. In any case, Prabhupada did the first artik for Krishna Balaram, and after that, then there was an opportunity for the devotees who would do the first artik. And so Tripurari Maharaj was ambitious. He pushed his way in the Pujari room and he grabbed Suradas and he grabbed me and he said, "We're doing it." And Bhagavan came in and he pushed him away. He said, "No, we were here first." And Gurudas came in and he said, "No, we were here first." And we were saying, "Maharaj, just let him do it." Because we really weren't trained up so much in Pujari work. We had done a little bit here and there, but we were mostly doing book distribution. So in any case, we had to wait till Srila Prabhupada came in and then the doors would open and we'd do the artik. And so that's what happened. We went in, and before we went in, the Pujari, who had been up for 3 days, came and said, this better be good, because all the biggest pundits from all over Vrindavan will be here. Srila Prabhupada will be watching personally, of course, and you want to make a good impression. So we were very nervous, and we waited and waited, and finally Srila Prabhupada came for darshan. We opened the doors, and we walked to the front where all the paraphernalia was, and I froze, because I had never seen such paraphernalia. Long ghee wicks. I've seen small ghee wicks before, long ghee wicks, and all types of different paraphernalia, and washing the conch outside the room and everything like that. So when the artik started, also we had never done a simultaneous artik. That's very difficult in and of itself if you've never done it. So we were there, and then I was at Radha Shamasundar's altar. Tripurari Maharaj was at Krishna Balaram's altar, and Suradas was at Gaur-Nitai's altar. And there was a fan going over Gaur-Nitai's altar that no one could find the switch for, because the temple had just been built and it was going full speed. So he could barely do anything there with the chamara and it lighting anything. And then Srila Prabhupada came in, he offered obeisance to Gaur-Nitai, Krishna Balaram, and he came to Radha Shamasundar's altar and stood there. And then, of course, all the GBC men and all the sannyasis, they stood behind Srila Prabhupada. And I turned around to look while I was offering the incense and practically fainted because Prabhupada was standing right there. Anyway, it went from bad to worse as I continued to fumble through the process, and I was thinking the whole time that Srila Prabhupada may ask me to burn my Brahman's thread afterwards. I really thought that. And I think when I turned around, I threw the water and it hit Tamal Krishna Maharaj square in the glasses, and he was, you know, I could see he was furious. So after the program, after the artik, we came into the pujari room, and Tripurari Maharaj said, now is the time to pray for forgiveness. And I went to the dark recesses of my room that I could find, and thought that I would stay there for a long time and pray for forgiveness. But the point is that after the artik, Prabhupada had gone back to his room. This is the story we got from Rameshwar, who had gone back there, and Srila Prabhupada said, who is this doing artik? And they said, Prabhupada, these were Tripurari Maharaj and his men, Prabhupada. He said, they don't know much about puja, but they distribute your books. And Prabhupada said, well, that is all right. That's what he told us when he came back. So anyway, after that time, I felt even more gratitude for Srila Prabhupada's mercy, and I also took it upon myself to learn how to do puja.
When I was first with him, after I'd joined him in Delhi, we then went to Vrindavan, and we were there for about 10 days. So I got a real chance to see Prabhupada in action. By that time I was able to live in his quarters, and Prabhupada, the first instruction that he gave me was that now your only business is to be with me 24 hours a day. So I took that quite literally, except of course when I was asleep. But I was with him day in and day out, and I got the chance to observe everything that he did, everything that he spoke, every little action that he did. And it really struck me very strongly that Prabhupada was like a living Srimad Bhagavatam. You know, in the Bhagavatam there's a full description there of what it means to be Krishna conscious. And of course there's volumes and volumes of books that describe that. And if you read them, then it might seem like, well, this is going to take a long time, you know, to realize what all of this is. It's such a vast subject. You know, what does it mean to be Krishna conscious? But it was all there in Srila Prabhupada, you know, at every moment. So I saw that, I understood that, and I resolved in my mind that I would take as much advantage of the opportunity to see him as possible, that just by observing how he did everything, how he managed things, how he spoke, how he walked, how he relaxed, how he dealt individually with different people, you know, that would show me the best example of Krishna consciousness. And you know, it just really struck me. Prabhupada was like a living, breathing Bhagavatam.
Krishna Kirtana Ganana Tanapano Jai Anilo Premadana Jai Anilo